Thank you for staying with Friday Night. Now, Sunday this week is International Women's Day, and the theme for International Women's Day on the 8th of March 2020 is I Am Generation Equality, Realizing Women's Rights. Now, ahead of International Women's Day, we are staying with the spirit of empowering women and girls. Tonight in studio, my two guests, two business leaders. They are household names in Kenya and beyond, enterprising women who will be sharing their respective journeys to success. With me in studio, and I'll allow you ladies to introduce yourselves to us, starting with you.
My name is Winnie Ngumi. I am the CEO of Space and Style Limited. We are manufacturers and distributors of building products, mainly roofing tiles. We are in the structural steel business, among other range of building solutions. Mm-hmm. So we currently offer solutions that are specific to technical aspects of construction.
Thank you for being with us.
And I'm Joanne Mwangi, founder and CEO of Professional Marketing Services, commonly known as PMS Group. We're a 360-degree communications company, and we've been in business for the last 25 years, serving the world's most loved brands.
Wow, fantastic. So ladies, your respective stories, because I know your stories are different, maybe with some similarities, but let's begin with you, Joanne. What led you to start your company? What motivated you? Was there a gap in the market that you felt there was a need to fill?
Okay, first of all, Lillian, 25 years ago, I was a little girl who just needed to pay her bills. But once you want to pay your bills and you got to make money, it means that you have to solve a problem. And I quickly identified that there was a big gap in the communication space in Kenya. I realized that most companies were looking for organizations that could listen to their brand challenge from beginning to end. And therefore, PMS Group emerged as an organization that deals with your branding and communications problem from conception to consumption. So we walk the whole journey with you of developing your brand, getting it into the hands of your consumer, getting it to be the most loved brand, and building a name for yourself. Mm-hmm. So that space is the space we occupy, and we got into that space by identifying the needs in the marketplace.
Right, identifying the needs in the market. For you, Winnie, was that a similar case? You're getting into an industry that is perhaps quote unquote male dominated. This is housing and construction. For you, what led you to this decision to start your company?
So I've been in business for the last 19 years, and I started the business straight out of university. I studied architecture. Then it was a natural progression into the building space. However, I did do a little bit of design. I did a little bit of practice for about 1 year. After that, then I realized that there was a gap in finding solutions. As an architect, I couldn't find products that were able to be expressive enough to give me the kind of aesthetics that I was looking for. Mm-hmm. And that's how I came up across Decra Roofing. I met them online through a Google search, and I realized there was nothing in the market like that. It was a completely different concept, a new language of expression in architecture. Mm-hmm. And that became the beginning of Space and Style.
Right.
And we started and pioneered this new language of construction, changed the way people see roofs, brought in new colors, new profiles. It became the most widely specified product in the industry. And then we started diversifying to complement the roof. So we went into structural steel again, a unique product that we design and manufacture here, which we started in 2012. Mm-hmm. And that's how our business has grown.
Right.
Yes.
25 years ago, Joanne, capital, I think, is the big question here. So this is 25 years ago. You're pretty young and you have this grand vision and grand dream. So financing and funding, let's talk about that.
Well, you start any small business first and foremost with your own savings. So that's where I started, but it wasn't enough. I ran out of money by the time I was doing 6 months. Mm-hmm. And I had to go to friends and family. And I must say that that's the kind of network that really comes from you being a reliable person. And so I borrowed widely from all my friends, but quickly enough, I was able to pay back. And it meant that I had to be very prudent in how I spend my money, because every profit I made, I plowed back into the business for the first 3 3 years. It was hard to even pay myself a salary because I needed to really grow this business, and it was a big dream. And by the time you get to a point where you become an award-winning agency, it means that you're not only putting in the money, but you're also developing the people who come into the network. And for you to pay people well, you know, marketing people are well paid, you know, it means that you're always harnessing the resources. As a company, we have never gone into debt. We have always self-financed, and I would say that you need to try and self-finance until you get to the point where you can actually leverage your LPOs or the cash you're waiting for to your debt. But if you're borrowing money without knowing how you're going to pay, then that's the easiest way to get out of business. So we have always self-financed. I would say that in terms of money challenges, cash flow sometimes is a problem. Especially when debts stay outstanding for a very long time. But quickly enough, you learn to put in procedures and processes that allow you to always be cash rich. In business, if you're not remembering that cash is king, then you're in trouble.
And I noticed you have not at any point spoken about going to a bank or a financial institution to borrow. Was that deliberate?
It was actually deliberate, but largely it was born out of fear on my part. I was afraid to borrow money and find myself into trouble. But once the business grows, you find that the banks actually come to you and offer you solutions. And the solutions are sometimes very useful. For example, you know, LPO discounting. It means that you can work with money from the bank simply because you have an LPO from a credible institution. That's a very valuable tool to sort out your cash flow challenges. And I think that there are many other debt instruments. For example, equity financing. You might also find that, you know, when you float your shares to a select group of people, and often, like in my case, I would get into a particular project and get people who bought shares into that specific project, not necessarily into the company. So there are very many ways to navigate the cash flow challenges.
Right. For you, Winnie, let's talk about the fact that at face value, some business prospects appear very promising. But is this the reality on the ground? Has it been smooth sailing for you as a company and indeed as a business, talking about finance, talking about suppliers, and talking about indeed anything that would keep you growing or on the right curve? Has it been smooth sailing?
I mean, it's been a real challenge, I must admit. Everything is a challenge. But you see, as an entrepreneur, and that's one thing that's very common about entrepreneurs, we always look for the opportunity in the challenge. When we started the business, our biggest issue was availing the roofing tiles here because we are a capital-intensive business. We require a lot of funds to procure and stock inventory. That was a huge challenge, but what we found as a quicker solution was going to our value chains. We looked at our suppliers, we talked to them, they were able to extend trade credit. Again, my story is very similar when it comes to financing. We did not procure debt from a bank up until, I think, 10, 12 years into the business. Again, because you don't have, when you go to the bank, they ask for security, which we didn't have as a business. And we continuously reinvested in the business. We did not pay ourselves dividends for the first 10 years of business. We grew our balance sheet, and when you have a healthy balance sheet, the banks come for you. They come and give you options. You have more. And as you develop your relationships with your customers, and with your suppliers, you find that there is space within the value chain to actually extract credit. You can get credit by talking to your customers, and you can also get your suppliers, and you can get your customers to actually forward pay. When they advance you money, you use that money and you use it to turn it into business. The biggest mistake a lot of people make is not separating themselves from their business. If you don't separate yourself from the business, you cannot see what the financial situation of your business, because you mix yourself, you're drawing your daily expenses from there as a person. And when you're not able to separate yourself, then that's a recipe for disaster.
And I like that you said that, separating yourself from the business, because for a lot of people, the motivation would be the money. Perhaps you're not happy about what your job is paying you, or maybe you've tried other things that have failed. So at what point should a startup be making profit? When is the break-even point? Or ideally, Joanne touched on it here briefly, but for you, when did that point come? At what point did you start paying yourself as Winnie?
So I started paying myself after 3 years. So I supplemented the first 3 years. I supplemented my income with, the usual side hustle. I was lucky that I was in the consulting space or in building. I could do jobs, so I had income. And still, you have to pay yourself what the business can afford. You do not go and draw, a huge CEO salary. That has to progressively increase, and you have to take little steps and grow as you expand. Same as recruiting people. We started with recruiting 2 members of staff. Today we are 110, and that grows over time. But and you can't just do it without setting the structures, having a good clarity of where you're going. So it's little steps. You have to give yourself time.
So a lot of people in business, Joanne, and this is the hue and cry is that business is bad. It's been a bad financial year, at least the better part of last year. That's what was on the grapevine. But if surely the country is facing an economic downturn, how have you managed to ride that wave as PMS? And if not, then what is your game plan?
Wow, I would say that people a lot of the time ride on the complaining bandwagon when it's not actually the reality in their specific industry. In our industry, we're among the first people to feel the effect of a downturn. Because remember, if people are cutting costs in a business, marketing is one of the first costs they cut out as they make sure that they stay afloat. For us as PMS, we have felt it because we can see that there was a reduction in the spend at the supermarket level. And the minute there's a reduction in the spend at supermarket, the manufacturers also reduce the amount of money they're spending promoting their products. This is actually the wrong thing to do because the time there's a downturn is the best time for you to communicate and to advertise because nobody else is doing it. Right. So only the smart people use that tool, And so we have encouraged our clients, especially the clients we've been with for a long time, to keep communicating, to keep advertising, to keep having the experiential marketing programs, and that has kept us afloat.
Right.
We also,
Yes, proceed, please.
We also have clients who we work with on an ongoing basis at point of sale. And that means that if we pull out our services, their sales will actually dramatically reduce. And so that becomes one of the services that we offer that ensures that we keep afloat even when the other, more volatile areas somewhat cool off.
Similar experience for you?
Space and Style took its largest expansion move during this what I would call economic downturn. We transformed ourselves from strictly a distributorship company into manufacturing. We invested a lot of our funds and capital into manufacturing. I think it is during what people perceive to be a downturn, it's the best time to reorganize and re-strategize. It's the best time to reinvest in your business. It's the best time to hire, train. You have time because you're not running after orders. There's space to breathe. You can reorganize your business. Right. So we took our biggest leap during this time. Yes, and real estate has been in the news as one of the industries that is actually facing tough times. It is true. It is facing tough times. However, we've seen with our customer profile, Mwananchi is still building. While we've seen a decline in the typical large projects that have developers and maybe bank financing, Mwananchi is still building. So people are still investing in their country because as Kenyans, where do we build? We have to build in this country.
We have to build right here at home. So in line with the fact that it's International Women's Day in a day's time, I'd like to touch on the next generation of women business leaders and how you are mentoring this new crop that's coming up, and it could range from women startups, accessing credit, you as employers, your women workforce as well. Joanne, let's talk about that, just celebrating you as women business leaders in the country, but also looking at other budding entrepreneurs such as I, who perhaps are looking up to you as, mentoring us on the way forward.
I'm really excited about the next generation of women entrepreneurs and business leaders. I think they're going to make great inroads for the simple reason they actually have somebody to look up to, and they have a big pool of people like Winnie, myself, and many others who are more than willing to hold their hands, which was something that wasn't available by the time some of us were starting our businesses. What I would say to them first and foremost is that don't be afraid of failure. Failing to try is the first biggest failure you could take. So first of all, don't be afraid of failure. Try your very best and start at the earliest possible. The other thing you must always know is that the world is built brick by brick. And so put your sister brick in there, and the world will give you the opportunity to keep climbing. But if you sit back and you're scared, you don't go anywhere. As you may know, I'm also the chairperson of FEMCOM. FEMCOM is the women wing of COMESA in 19 countries. And one of the things that we have done is to put in place structures where young women entrepreneurs can tap into bigger markets. So for me, my biggest goal is pushing women not to just think local, but to think regional and to think global, to really think big. There's nothing stopping you from growing a huge business, such as what Winnie has done and others, as opposed to you starting your small business and keeping it small. We need to be a lot more daring. And so the institutional framework of making sure that women are trained, have a place to go, that's my core area of focus. And also looking at the places where there's real money. I don't see why women should be getting into businesses where they're just toiling. You need to get into a business that actually has the potential to make you a multi-billionaire. So that if you don't become a billionaire, at least you become a millionaire. But toiling for the whole of your life, I really think that's not the right place for women, and women are smarter than that.
Well said, well said. Joanne, for you, lessons you wish female entrepreneurs, or you would like female entrepreneurs to draw from your years of experience in business?
First, the time. They have to appreciate the value of time. They have to appreciate that businesses grow steadily when you focus and put everything that you have in that business. So they have to realize that you don't just start a business, you're not making money in 6 months and you abandon it. You have to put your time. And you have, secondly, hard work. It takes hard work, it takes commitment, it takes a drive, and true, you have to come out of your comfort zone. There's nothing that women cannot achieve. It's always in our mind that we all, and my personal principle is, what's the worst someone can say? They'll say no, and then you move to the next person. So they should not fear, because that is what keeps women hiding. Secondly, which is something I have learned over time, women need to show up. If there's an opportunity, show up. If you're invited to join a women association, turn up. Turn up, take leadership positions. I turned up, I joined Kenya Association of Manufacturers. Today I lead their sector in building, mining and construction. We have a platform for women in manufacturing that is very vibrant, and we are inviting women to turn up. We are trying to push women to venture into manufacturing because wealth creation is done through manufacturing and agriculture. Women should come there, they should actually demand their space, they should sit at their table, and they should not fear. Yes.
So we're pressed for time. Parting shots, Joanne, and indeed Winnie. As we close, we're in the spirit of celebrating women. Remember, these are two top business female leaders in this country, and we're celebrating them tonight. So Joanne, as we close, any regrets?
My biggest regret is that I did not know that it would be faster for me to move with others as opposed to trying to move alone. Had I known better, I would have brought in stronger skills in the different areas, especially if I could get in other women like myself. We would be so much further, faster. And so I would say, don't struggle alone. Get in the partnerships, get in the technical support you need. It's better for you to own 10% of $1 billion as opposed to 100% of 1 million.
That's right. And Winnie, finally, as we close.
I just like to tell women to come out, celebrate each other. We have a concept that women always bring each other down. We we have certain platforms where we come out and celebrate each other. Women need to talk about their achievements. They need to say, I have done, I own, with absolutely no shame. And that creates positivity, and it draws positivity.
And ahead of International Women's Day, indeed, we are celebrating Winnie Ngumi, CEO Space and Style Limited, and Joanne Mwangi, who is CEO Professional Marketing Service, that is PMS. Ladies, I celebrate you. Thank you very much for being with us on Friday night. We are taking a short break. We're back with more in just a bit. Thank you.